here and speak to the fine folks of South Georgia about some really important football stuff. And we're still going to, but I'm fired up because Nancy Hinkle.
Wow. How dare she, first of all?
Yeah.
I don't even know what.
An entomologist at the University of Georgia had the nerve to make a statement that is driving me up a wall.
Okay. Understandable.
PJ.
I don't know what she does. I don't know what an entomologist is, but
well, apparently there's someone that works with gnats.
Oh, okay. All right.
And obviously summertime I guess when the temperatures drop back below 50 is sand gnat season.
Yeah.
Here in South Georgia.
Going back to it, can you imagine having to work with gnats? How annoying, how like you think you have bad coworkers. Imagine having to work with gnats.
Yeah.
You'd be mad all the time.
Well, number one, she basically says if sand gnats come at you or gnats in general come at you, it's because you stink. She says they generally gravitate toward parts of body that produce odors.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but my ankle doesn't produce odors.
No.
And it gets torn up.
No,
I'm not trying
really.
to fight an entomologist here, but I'm fired up about this. She goes on to say, and this is in a report with WALB. She says they'll try to get in your ears. They like the smell of warm wax. They'll try to get in your nose. They like the mucus coming from your nose, and they'll try to get in your mouth if you open your mouth. She says the ones in South Georgia are called eye gnats because they're attracted to the eyes too.
Interesting.
I don't know what gnats she's referring to. And then she says there is one true statement that she makes here. She said there's nothing you can do to get away from gnats and still live in Georgia. Completely true.
Yeah, for sure.
But then she adds there's one thing they can't do, which is bite you.
Yeah, stop. No. You're doing too much, Nancy. You've gone too far.
She has to be speaking about a completely different type of gnat.
Yeah, for sure.
Look, up in Athens, these things don't exist. These creatures from hell do not exist.
Yep.
We have the little liner that runs on the station, home of sand gnats and the sea breeze.
Yep.
South Georgia.
Couldn't be true.
Because she says that, hey.
Probably one of Mark Douglas's greatest works.
Yes. And she's like, if you can, the way to fight it is a fan blowing wind. I'm like, I don't know if they just don't know about the mutant sand gnats in North Georgia.
I'd like to talk to Nancy and just see how many times we should invite her down. You know what I mean? Just come on down, middle of the spring, maybe even some parts of the fall, when they're just out there, just causing havoc to anybody who steps outside. Come on down for a week. See how long you last.
And also, apparently,
try and go home on day 2.
Apparently, there's something called a gnat line.
What?
I guess it's like the Mason-Dixon line, but it's the gnat line. And it's basically, you go south of Columbus through Macon to Augusta, like south of that area, and it's just war.
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Just gnats that'll kill you. But I know which gnats she's referring to. Because they're the ones when you're riding on a bike as a kid, stuff like that. This is a North Georgia experience for you. I grew up in Atlanta.
Yeah, okay,
but they'll fly in your mouth and stuff like that, and they'll try to get in your ears and they bzz, like in your eye and stuff like that. And you're like, God, we guys just quit it. Down here, these things are out for blood.
Yeah, no.
Go watch the national anthem of any football, baseball, softball game in South Georgia where everyone's having to stand still.
Yes.
And just watch like people turn into horses. Where the hands are over the heart, but like their legs are like kicking back and forth, just trying to kick gnats
and
off
if you
their
find
legs.
One person who really isn't moving, look at the pain in their eyes.
Yeah.
Look at the tears rolling down their face. You know what's
just
going
like
on there.
Stone cold.
Yeah.
Like sweat.
Yeah, he's like, I will get through this. I will get through this. And they're just, but no, it's a coordinated attack down here. And it is an attack. It's not just whatever. Like that's what the sand gnats, whatever it is, in Athens are just like that, like annoying person who just kind of wants to get on your nerves a little bit, just to like see you get, kind of. I have a lot of experience with this because a lot of people like to. I mean, hey, you've said it before. I get funny when I get angry, so it's like it's weird. So like that's like it's like the playful annoyance, and then there's coordinated attacks.
It's like Samwise Gamgee getting mad.
Yeah, right. It's like coordinated attacks down here. you just compared me to in some little strange way, and I just Samwise Gamgee is
the best character in
just
Lord
the
of the
best
Rings.
character
Yeah.
literally in probably any movie ever.
Yeah, but like when he gets mad, you're like, all right, come on.
Yeah, it's like, Sam, what are you doing? Anyway,
you stay away from him, you. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But it's like that's up there. Those are the gnats up there. Down here, it's like
they're out for blood.
It's like World War II, man.
Rambo gnats.
Like, yeah, that's it. They're just coming for you, and
I'm gonna
like
reach
you said,
out
they
to
want
Nancy.
blood. They want things to end. They want life to end in South Georgia.
I'm curious about.
They're trying their
curious
best.
about Nancy's South Georgia experiences because that just infuriated me when I heard that when she was like, "No, one thing they can't do is bite." Like, the hell are they doing then? Are they pinching me?
Yeah, if there is a South Georgia experience, you know what it is, man. Like they come down here, like vacation either in the winter when it's still a little bit warm down here, or it's to get away from
there's
the
no
snow
transition.
and the cold.
There's no transition, right? Like it's like or give and take, right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say transition. There's no give and take where it's like, okay, you guys have bad sand gnats, but our mosquitoes are worse. Not the case.
Nope.
Mosquitoes down here, mutants. They also don't have reptiles up there that'll eat your dog.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's the worst that they have are some like geckos and salamanders and whatever the yard variety of lizards are. Like, that's the worst they got. We got some prehistoric dinosaurs down here ready to snap you up.
I remember getting ready to move down here, and I thought that whole thing was like, oh, haha, yeah, they have alligators and stuff like that too. But whatever, every now and then you might see one. No, it's all the time. Like you go fishing, you're probably going to see a gator.
There's
somewhere.
like I believe the DNR equivalent in Florida is still the DNR, but it's just the Florida version. I've seen statements from them saying that like if you go swimming in certain lakes in Florida, like we've told you you're swimming at your own risk.
Yeah.
It's like you know that the gators own this. If you swim in there,
there's nothing we can do to help you. Yeah.
You're probably gonna get snipped, like come up missing some toes.
Yep.
If you're lucky.
Right.
But it's like we warned you not to go in there.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
So now I because
fired up when I heard
like you
that,
say
TJ.
about 20 minutes ago, like you can tell very, very well when you walk in the door, like what Christian's feeling like that day. And you're like singing and stuff, like everything was good. And then I walk in here
I was
and
fired
you're just
up
like,
when you came in here with a fresh cut.
You're just angry. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's they did a really good job. Like I like it a lot this time. So anyway.
No, don't anyway me.
I mean, what am I supposed to go? Where am I supposed to go?
Anyway, sounds like you're trying to move it on.
I'm not great with like, I try and do that when people like give me some sort of compliment. I'm like, okay, great. Now let's move forward because I'm uncomfortable. So what do we got next? Away from my haircut.
So I need more time to talk about the college football stuff. So we can talk about Matt Fitzpatrick winning the U.S. Open on Sunday up in Boston. The thing I want to talk about, because I know everybody else has talked about the actual golf itself, because that course is awesome. Saturday was brutal. Like, I think that's what the U.S. Open is supposed to be, right? The Masters is the Masters. So you watch the Masters because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? You're watching the most gorgeous course on earth, and the course itself is almost more important than the players. Mm-hmm. Right? Just that's why people watch it. Doesn't matter who's playing, people are going to watch it. That's the Masters. The Open Championship, which is coming up in about a month,
of course,
is you watch it for the history, but also I think for the different styles of golf because they move it around. But the link style golf that you get to watch, right, where the players just have to completely switch it up. A lot of wind, very little trees, a lot of rolling the ball out versus trying to stick it close. So it's like you watch for that reason also because it's the world's oldest championship in terms of golf, right? So that's the Open Championship. The Tour Championship at East Lake, you watch because somebody's walking away with 10 mil. I guess.
Right, yeah.
Some cheddar, right? Like it's the Tour Championship. You watch the Open, I think, to watch people struggle. Mm-hmm. I think back to the tournament in Oregon where Dustin Johnson 3-putted and Jordan Spieth won the U.S. Open. And just in so many years past, the high rough that they've had at these different U.S. Opens, right? And it's just brutal watching guys try to hit out of it. I think that's one of the appealing factors around the U.S. Open is let's see some pros struggle. Like, obviously, we'd go out there and shoot like 200. Yeah. But, like, let's see some pros struggle. And I think we got that, especially, again, on Saturday, just because of the weather conditions. But Matt Fitzpatrick wins his first major, which is interesting because he won an amateur tournament at the country club back in 2019. So he had won at this course before as an amateur. Now he comes back, wins as a pro, wins his first major. But I thought the biggest storyline from the weekend was the lack of storylines around Live Golf, because I believe only 3 out of the 14 Live Golf players even made the cut.
Yeah.
Like Mickelson was done day one.
Right.
And some of I don't know if you've heard some of the heckles that he was getting from the crowd were outstanding.
Personally, I have not.
Like, first hole, he's walking up there. One guy's yelling at him, "Greed's good, baby. Greed's good."
Yeah.
Just no acknowledgement. And then another guy, I think, was like, because it was the finals were still going on. He's like, "Hey, Celtics minus 3.5. What do you got, Phil?" Just making, I guess, just kind of alluding to Phil's gambling propensities.
Right.
So you could tell there was some animosity there. And then prior to the tournament, obviously, you had Brooks Koepka saying, "Why are you guys asking all these questions?" Jay Monahan lighten up the Live Golf Tour, of course, like, just that's status quo. But it's also the first time we got to see the players that are on the Live Tour now come back and play with some of the PGA Tour guys. And I think the biggest storyline that's coming out of this now is that Rory McIlroy is kind of the face of golf now.
Right.
Like, Tiger Woods is still the most prominent figure in golf,
of course,
I think, by a long shot.
Yeah.
But still hurt, had to pull out of preparing for the U.S. Open and told the USGA, like, my body's just not ready. And he's hoping to play in the Open Championship coming up in about a month. But Rory McIlroy, and I'd say Justin Thomas alongside him. I just don't know that Justin Thomas is as big of a draw, I guess, as Rory McIlroy, just because of the longevity factor.
True.
And a lot of the tournaments that Rory McIlroy's played with. I mean, the dude has 21 PGA Tour wins now, but just the statements that he's come out and made and continues to make, and just throwing his full support behind the PGA Tour. And what I like is the stance that the players who are supporting the PGA Tour have come out and they said, this is competitive golf. They're playing in exhibitions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're playing against, they've said this repeatedly, we're playing against the best golfers in the world.
Right.
Which I think is alluding to the fact, and this is what's true. I don't want to get these two narratives mixed up. So Rory McIlroy's the face.
Yeah.
And I think he's come out of this weekend squarely. He is the face of golf. The other one that I think is coming true is, you've gotten some names over to the Live Golf Tour, but you haven't really gotten competitive golfers.
Yep.
There's reports coming out now that Patrick Reed had to let go of a pretty significant amount of his staff earlier this year just because he wasn't earning what he would typically earn during a PGA Tour season because he wasn't winning.
Yeah.
Right? Bryson DeChambeau have struggled mightily in the U.S. Open this past weekend, right? There's a reason he goes over there. Guaranteed money. Dustin Johnson, same reason, right? Used to be the number one golfer in the world. Now he's not inside the top 14. Reason that he's moved over there. Same with Kevin Na, Charles Schwartzel, Lee Westwood, all these guys, aging golfers moving over there. You don't see any 23-year-olds making the jump to go.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I think the narrative has become, Live Golf Tour, interesting idea. Obviously a lot of money to it, but you're paying 9 figures to a lot of times washed up golfers.
Yeah. And that's honestly, I've been sitting here thinking, like, why you've been talking about that. It's kind of like ruthless, and you kind of have to throw it all. Like, I respect what those guys have done on the PGA Tour in the past, and the names they've made, and the tour, and the events they've won, everything like that. But like what you're describing right now, and what really seems like has happened, is it's the PGA Tour. Kind of like, of course, they want those names, they want those faces on the PGA Tour, of course, but they're not there anymore. And competitively, the PGA Tour is just kind of trimmed the fat a little bit. Like those faces, sure, it'd be great to have those faces and those names still in your tournaments and whatnot. But now that they're doing their own thing, making their guaranteed money in the exhibitions,
because of what they've done in the past,
right? And I know a lot of people love that tradition and want to hold on to that, and that's why they're still the names and the faces that they are. But the fact is that they're just not some of the best golfers in the world anymore. And now it's almost like the PGA Tour can focus back on, now that like the big hoopla is gone from, like, it's all happened, right? Those guys are gone. It is what it is. it's like they can focus on the guys that are really out there doing it now.
Yeah.
They're really the top golfers in the world. Rory McIlroy becoming the serious face of the PGA Tour, and you look at kind of what he's been able to do and how good he is, and like you said, kind of the statements he's been making, giving his full support to the PGA Tour. Same thing with Justin Thomas. Well, maybe these are the guys we should have been focused on to begin with.
Well,
So
yeah, and I think another important part of it too is it's internationally, right? So Rory McIlroy, obviously an Englishman, or not Englishman. I'm gonna get this one completely wrong.
It's I don't know. I don't know either. Like you said, he's from across the pond. It's either
He's from the United Kingdom, but Northern Ireland. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Those are fighting words. But Matt Fitzpatrick.
I didn't want to say anything because I'm like, I don't want to get it wrong.
Fitzpatrick, an Englishman, wins the tournament. John Rahm, a Spaniard, right? While Sergio Garcia, maybe the most famous Spanish golfer ever, is joining the Live Golf Tour again. The dude is old.
Yeah.
Joining the Live Golf Tour, trying to cash that last paycheck before he's not overly competitive anymore. Yep. Versus John Rahm, top of his game, saying, "No, I think I'll stick with the PGA Tour." So it's not just like Americans sticking by the PGA Tour. It's internationally they're doing that, but also the TV sponsors, I think, have really stuck by the PGA Tour, because it would be very easy for ESPN to say, "Oh, here's some highlights from the first ever Live Golf Tour." I don't know if I saw one.
Yeah.
Fox Sports, right? NBC, don't know if I saw one highlight from the Live Golf Tour. And all of the coverage I've seen skews negatively towards the Live Golf Tour. Like ESPN has one up right now on their homepage, and it is, I don't want to say a hit piece, but it is like a day by day, hour by hour account of how gross the Live Golf Tour is. And there's a group now of a woman, led by a woman whose husband died on one of the towers in September 11th, who has come out and, I don't think criticize is a strong enough word, the American players specifically who have joined the Live Golf Tour, because a multitude of the terrorists on that day were Saudi Arabian in descent, including Osama bin Laden.
Right.
And so she has come out and strongly criticized those guys, and even Phil Mickelson, who she said was her husband's favorite golfer.
Yeah.
Was asked about it.
Right.
And all he said was September 11th was bad.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is just, it's getting worse and worse, I think, for these guys. But tying a bow kind of on this, Dustin Johnson, I think, just kind of summarizes the reason why any of these guys are doing it. Someone asked Dustin Johnson, "Hey, are you going to fish more now that you don't have to play every week?" And he said, "I can do whatever I want."
Right.
I could go out there, hit one, withdraw from injury, and I'm still making money.
Yeah.
And I already got my lump sum.
Right. Which, I mean, exactly. Well, what he's saying isn't wrong by any means, but it's just like, it again, PR wise, it's not making anything better. Yeah, I think it's just kind of turning around and, slapping the people in the face that used to support you, right? So it's like, yeah, I can do whatever I want because I got the bag, and now I'm just kind of sailing off into the sunset. Well, not really, man. Not really.
Also, the phrase "I'm just" doesn't work anymore. Like, oh man, I'm just a golfer.
Yeah.
I think the past couple years, that phrase has gotten thrown out of our vernacular.
I think
nobody's just anything anymore.
Right. I think as it should, because
if anything, I would skew more towards I'm an American.
Right.
Over I'm a golfer.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
$100 million.
Well, it's like people.
A lot of people.
I think you can say this about a lot of things. When you, especially nowadays with all the social media and all the different things, like, sure, you can't be in one of these positions and not address or realize how much impact that you can have on people. It's just, whether you like it or not, like we're not in the 70s or the 60s anymore, where it's just like, yeah, maybe you were really just something, and you go and you do what you do, whatever job that is, and you have impact and sway on the people directly around you physically, because we didn't have everything we have now. But it's 2022, and the things you do, the things you say, the things that are put out there are going to be spread, and they're going to have impact on people. So, like, But I think that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Whatever you do, you have to accept the responsibility, especially if you're someone who makes it big, right? In anything, you're gonna have a responsibility to the things you say and the things that you do, and how that might impact someone else. So people might not like that, but it is what it is. So I think that's a very good point by you. Like I think I'm just there's not really a lot of space for that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so either. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. This is Second Down on ESPN Radio. If you miss any portion of our show, you can check it out on ESPNcoastal.com. Talking college football next. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. PJ, kind of piggybacking off of our last conversation, I guess the central subject there. What would you say is the answer to 9 out of 10 questions in life? One word.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's a good one.
Maybe.
The old saying goes, answer to 9 out of 10 questions in life is money.
Yeah, that's true.
If I told you, or I asked you, hey, what's the most important thing to getting my college football program to become elite?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would say coaching. There's a lot of really good coaches all over the country. Ain't all of them going to win a national championship.
In a perfect world, like in a utopia, that might be the answer.
Players, true. But how do you get the players there? Recruiting. Recruiting. That's the word, right? Nah. If you want to win.
Recruiting is a front word.
Yeah. If you want to win and you want to win big, money is the name of the game. Now, today, I know it sounds crazy. I'm going to take a break from the NIL stuff. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. No
I'm talking about.
There is other things regarding college football nowadays other than NIL.
That's very
true.
NIL's money, right? NIL's money.
Of course.
We're talking about money.
Right.
Today. Like money. Like dollar bills, y'all. All right.
Keep on going. Just keep.
Cha-ching.
There it is. Okay.
It don't wiggle. It folds.
Okay.
All of the above.
Kind of some of the new stuff.
Are we done? Okay.
You had some classic stuff in there. Some of the new stuff in there too.
All right. So you're like, Christian, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Obviously, schools spend money. No. I am talking about if you want to go from we have a really good football team to no, we're competing for national championships every year. It's money.
Yep.
And it's an investment. And that's how you get to winning every year. And they're like, but Christian, what about Cincinnati? They got the college football play. And they weren't even close. And that was a one-off. They're not going to be back next year. They kind of had that we call it a window where you have a bunch of players that are really good all at the same time. They form up and they're all seniors. And you made a run, and then you just get smacked by Alabama. Right? So we're talking about money. And I want to read a quote from Mel Tucker, former Georgia defensive coordinator. Now I believe the highest paid head coach in the Big Ten. One of the highest paid coaches in the country at Michigan State. And this is just him talking about his vision that he gave to Michigan State, some of this is justifying his salary, but I don't disagree with his statement. He says, if I want to open a 5-star restaurant, do we wait until we turn a profit before we put white tablecloths on and put out the top shelf silverware and have the best chef and the best servers and decor? You're not going to ever become that if you wait, because how can you get there? You have to invest and you have to bet on yourself and then have a process, have a business plan, have something that sound and solid, get the people and then go for it. If you wait and go, quote, when we win some games, then we'll do this. I don't know how you do that, especially in this day and age when everything is accelerated, everything is right now. Yeah. So to kind of summarize what Mel Tucker's saying there, you can't look at Mel Tucker, bring him in and say, hey, I think he started at 5 years at $5.5 million a year. You can't bring him in, pay him, and then go, okay, good luck. Mm-hmm. We're going to status quo on everything else, and we're going to expect a different result out of you just because you're a better coach than Mike D'Antonio.
Right.
Like, so go win.
Yeah.
His point is, if you want to be Ohio State and you want to be Alabama and you want to be Georgia, you got to spend like them. Mm-hmm. Or it's going to be what Michigan State has been. I think they're a great example. Every 4 years, they'll have a team that pops up. Real good team. Real competitive team. Double digits.
Yeah.
A couple plays away from potentially winning a conference championship.
Right.
And then it just kind of goes back down 7-5, 8-4 for a few years. And then they'll spring back up.
Until they build back up. Yep.
If you want to become a powerhouse, if you want to become, the word is elite, right? You got to spend that bread.
Yep.
And they did that. They made him, again, the highest paid coach in the Big Ten, and they're spending money the way it needs to be spent if you're going to have that program. I think a perfect example, if you want to localize this, is the University of Georgia. So in 2015, and this is still a lot of money, right? $49 million of Georgia's $116 million operating revenue came from football. So $49 million came from football, and they spent $20.7 million to keep up the program. Why is 2015 important? Mark Richt's last year at Georgia, right? They spent $20.7 million on football, right, to keep up the program. Go and flash forward to, this is 2019. $48 million spent.
More than double.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about what Kirby Smart came in. He said the things, right? We got to lock down our state, right? We got to keep the recruits in state that we're going after. Recruiting is going to be priority number one. We're changing who we recruit. Okay, how do we get them to commit? I need new coaches buildings. I need an indoor practice facility. I need all new practice facilities. We're going to redo the Busmere building a couple times. I need a new locker room a couple years later. I need a newer locker room. We need renovations to the stadium.
Yeah.
Right? It has been hugely profitable for the University of Georgia, but they have been spending money.
Absolutely.
I think they spent, let's see, just on, and again, this is from, I want to make sure I get this correctly, 2019 to 2020. Just wanted to confirm. They spent $3.8 million in recruiting expenses alone.
Yeah, one calendar year.
Yeah, $3.8 million in recruiting expenses, including transportation, lodging, and meals. They spent almost $6 million on travel.
Yeah, wild. And that's that again. You think back to 2015, that's literally a quarter of what they were spending in 2015. Fast forward 5 years later, and a quarter of that is now kind of a drop in the bucket, but it's still huge. And obviously has been, like you said, has been profitable for Georgia to be able to spend that.
Right.
And, well, profitable in the sense of success on the football field.
And you're like, well, why do athletic departments spend this much money on football? Football generated in 2019 to 2020 at the University of Georgia $134.4 million.
Yep.
And again, the expenses from football were 48.5.
Right. So
okay.
You don't.
So roughly,
you don't need a math degree to figure that one out. Yeah.
I don't know. You might. I don't know. That's a lot of. That's
almost
$100 million.
That's
a lot of numbers.
Of profit. I mean,
the only other profitable sport that year for Georgia was men's basketball. $9.6 million in profits, and the expenses there were 8.3.
Right. So
you went from what, $70-ish million in profit?
Yeah.
To about 1.3.
Right.
To your next highest.
Yeah.
And then the one after that, that's the least expensive in terms of what it cost you to do it. Women's gymnastics brought in 1.1 million, and the expenses were 2.1.
Right.
That's a net loss of $1 million.
That's big. Yeah. And that hurts the pockets for sure. But that makes
it's the athletic departments want to spend this money on the other sports, and they want to keep distributing this money out. But, and this is not where I wanted to go. I want to keep this in college football, but just some of these numbers that you're looking at right here, like men's tennis generated $64,000 in revenue, and they spent $1 million on them.
Yeah.
That's what women's soccer generated $365,000. They spent $1.6 million on them.
Right.
But these schools want to continue that, but that's when you get in the conversation of paying players. That's where it gets interesting. Who gets paid?
Yeah, exactly. And again, like you gotta be willing to spend that money on the football program, because that's the one that's bringing in all that money that you can then turn around and try and do the same thing for the other sports. But if you don't do that first for the football program, then where else are you going to get that money to be able to spend on the other sports? So yeah, for sure.
But back to the original point, I think you can look at what Mel Tucker said, and obviously there's some caveats to it. Like, you have to be, I believe, in a good recruiting state, because I just think still that matters. Keeping the hometown or the home state talent around you, I think that matters, right? The reason Georgia is as good as they are, and I know N'Kobe Dean's from Mississippi, right? And Jalen Carter's from the north part of Florida, and Jordan Davis was from North Carolina. right? But the reason you're so good for the most part is you get a vast majority of your roster from the state of Georgia, which, in my opinion, per capita is the best high school football state in the country. But there's a reason why a lot of these schools continue to be as successful as they are is because of in the general area around them where the players are. Right? Ohio is a great football state.
Mhm.
Pennsylvania is a great football state. There's a reason why those schools are as good as they are. But with all that said, I think you can kind of project out and say, okay, who's next? Clemson, I think, is the most recent version of this. Georgia, obviously, but Georgia had been winning 10 games a year. It's just, it took Kirby Smart coming in and saying, if you want to go from great to elite, here's what's going to have to happen. But Clemson went from, and Mike Gundy has talked about this, and I wonder if that's just a conversation he's trying to give to his own folks.
I can imagine.
Even though they're spending money at Oklahoma State.
They always have, yeah.
Right. But he says Clemson is a historic program. They won a national championship in 1981, but there's a lot of years in between there where you just kind of forgot Clemson existed.
Yeah.
Where through the 90s and early 2000s, kind of And then when Dabo comes along, they invested in him, and then they had a business model, and they started pouring money into that program.
Mm-hmm.
And they started building the infrastructure to it. And it's not nearly as much as the Ohio States, Alabamas, and Georgia spend, but it's still a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So they started pouring the money into it. So I think you could start to extrapolate that out and say, okay, who's next? I think Miami's probably one of them.
I can definitely see that.
Because for a long time, and it's still the case, but for a long time, they didn't have the advantages of a Florida or Florida State. They weren't the publicly funded universities, and they don't have the huge alumni base that Florida State and Florida have. They still have fans that love football, but they don't have that gigantic alumni base that's going to pour money back into it. Well, now apparently you don't need that, because if you have $1 billion investor into your football program,
that helps.
Then you're doing okay. So I think Mario Cristobal has kind of come with that same thing, because you can't work where Mario Cristobal's worked, where he's been at Oregon with Phil Knight, and at Alabama with Nick Saban and the money in and around that program, and be like, oh, we can just keep doing this with whatever we were spending before. It's like, no, you want me to come here? You're gonna have to pay me, and you're gonna have to spend a lot of money on this program. Miami's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I had to put my money on it, which program is that next one to kind of hop back up into that elite category, because there is kind of a vacuum right now in the ACC, I'd say watch out for Miami.
Yeah, very good point. Follow the money, right?
Yeah.
Well, not simply making choices, but follow the money. And most of the time, especially I think you're showing in college football, it's going to build something up when someone invests in a program and invests in, especially, I think it's the tie-in, right? If you pour that kind of money into, I don't know, I don't want to use a bad example or say anything bad about a team, but if you use that kind of money and investment on a team that just has a huge gap to try and make up, or doesn't have the tradition or something like that, then I think it's a little bit more difficult. But a hotbed like Miami, you invest in that could be scary good in 3 or 4 years. But I think that's a very good point, and I putting the microscope, on that a little bit. Yeah, whatever. Putting the microscope on that a little bit and seeing what they can do with real investment could be huge. I think it's another one of those kind of, I don't know about giants, but it's another one of those programs that's been asleep for a while. So if it can get woken back up a little bit and really poured into, that could be scary.
It could be good for college football too. Again, all you need to look at, Georgia 2015 expenses for the football team, $20.9 million. 2019 and 2020, 48.5.
Yep.
You gotta spend that cheddar, and look, eventually, Mel Tucker was right.
Yeah.
You pour that money into it. You buy me the white linen, and you buy me the goldware, and you buy me the best chef you can buy. It's going to cost you money at first, but those patrons are going to start pouring in. And those wins are going to start pouring in on the football field.
Well, that's the thing, right? You're not only going to have one side of things like, oh, well, we're winning a lot, but we're not making a lot of money. No. The money will follow that for sure.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. PJ, I have an important question for you.
All right, go ahead.
Is the following acceptable?
Probably not.
The Red Sox have called up their number 5 overall prospect, bringing him up, add him to the lineup, just trying to make a move. Is it acceptable that for the Boston Red Sox, their number 5 prospect, again, they've just called up, his first name is Jeter?
Oh, wow.
Jeter Downs called up to the Red Sox.
Is it? I mean,
from AAA Worcester.
Yeah, it's acceptable. I
Is
mean,
it?
Dude, what do you want them to do? They can't control the guy's name.
Do you even draft somebody named Jeter if you're the Red Sox?
Yeah.
Nah.
You do it in spite of the Yankees. It's hilarious.
Okay, that's a fair point. How would you feel?
And dude, think about what if he becomes a Boston Red Sox great? That's hilarious. It's like game 6 of what are they in? The National League or the American League? I don't know. Are they in the American League? They're in the ALCS. It's game 6 and it's 5-5. And Jeter
Downs
hits the walk-off home run for the Red Sox. That's amazing.
It's like the Steelers drafting somebody named Lamar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or who do y'all hate even worse than that?
No. Flacco. Oh my gosh, that made me so mad. They had the chance to draft a guy named Lamar a few years ago. They passed him up to keep old Ben.
That would be like Georgia
makes me
signing a starting quarterback whose first name was Tebow.
Yeah. Oh man. That'd be rough.
I don't think that's acceptable. I'm just gonna put it out. I'll risk the best for Jeter Downs, and he'll probably end up playing for the Yankees at some point, if we're being honest. But I don't know that it's acceptable. We gotta take one more break. We'll come back, get you ready for 3 and Out next. This is amazing. So for those of you who have maybe not been quite as online as we have to be, Matt Brown, our friend from Extra Points, with Matt Brown, we had him on a couple weeks ago talking NIL. He kind of broke the news that 2023 is when it appears we're going to get a college football game back in some form from EA. Reports are they've already signed over 120 schools, like conditionally signed 120 schools. And there's a lot of really cool stuff. We can dive more into it tomorrow. But Kevin Thomas just had the most like college football ass idea I've ever heard. I'm sorry, but it's just like the only way I can describe it.
I think it's true.
The only college, like it's just so college football.
Yeah.
He thinks every cover should be regionalized.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how when Phil Steele's college football magazine preview, like the holy grail of college football information comes out every year.
Oh yeah.
If you're in,
I can't wait.
There's like one regular one where it has a bunch of different players on it.
Yeah.
But then there's the localized ones.
Yep.
Where it's, oh, you're buying Phil Steele in Georgia, boom, Georgia player on it. You're buying Phil Steele in Alabama, boom, Alabama player on it. Kevin thinks they should do the NCAA football games like a regional college football magazine.
Like
I think that would be so damn on brand.
That'd be amazing. You know they have the technology to do that too. I mean,
but you know EA is like, no, because the vast majority of these are going to be digital editions. Yeah. And they're like, no. Okay,
or if they do it,
easier, but if they do it, no. But if they do it, if they do it, it's gonna be okay. You can have the regular edition for $59.99, or you can have the special Georgia Bulldog edition for $105.99.
That's so true. Even the pricing,
and it's gonna come with a special uniform edition pack where you get the Power Ranger uniforms.
Yeah, right. You only get the, oh my gosh. Stop scaring me with this. All of my favorite video games have already been ruined with money transactions in the game.
Can't wait for
Don't do that with college football.
At least they can't ruin it. At least they can't ruin it in the live action version, because the live action version already exists and it's really good.
Thank God.
Unlike Halo.
Halo's dead. Halo's dead.
3 and Outs coming up next. If you miss any portion of our show, you can check it out on ESPNcoastal.com. We'll catch everyone tomorrow.